Hi, welcome to Looking Up, a channel to inspire you in your work and in your life. In today's episode, we're going to be exploring two short day trips. I had wanted to go to Salem this year in late September, but something came up and I wasn't able to go, so I decided not to because of how crazy busy it gets in October. So I thought instead I would take two alternative trips, or actually much closer for me, still explore the Halloween feel. Not to the extent of Salem, but just that small town charm and festive environment for Halloween. So today these are Salem alternatives if you choose not to partake in the super busy and chaotic scene this October. The first place is Sleepy Hollow, New York, which also gets very, very busy, especially as we get into the later weeks of October. So keeping that in mind that it will be quite busy, probably by the time this video comes out. But still an alternative if you're not able to get to Salem. So the first day of my itinerary was going to Sleepy Hollow. And I got there pretty early in the morning, probably too early. I wanted to get there before the crowds got bad. I probably got there around 8:15 or so. And I stopped at, I think it's the They have a brand new, beautiful grocery store near the river. There's like a whole new developed section of Sleepy Hollow. It was amazing how much had changed even since last year when I was there. I saw that they had a lot of construction, but this year was the first year I saw everything really built up. It was incredible how much it has changed, especially on the western side of the town near the Hudson River. I thought it was actually a perfect first stop of the trip because I was able to get some food. I got some yogurt and some iced tea. They have a beautiful upstairs area, by the way, where you can sit with large windows, and there's even an outdoor component, but it wasn't open at the time that I was there. I think maybe a little bit later when the restaurant upstairs opens, but they have plenty of areas to sit around on your computer. Only not that you would go there for that, but to sit down and sort of formulate your plan for the day. And they have restrooms and everything upstairs, so I highly recommend checking it out. It's just a gorgeous grocery store to begin with. After there, I went over to the cemetery. It opened, I believe, at 8:30 on the weekday. I was there on a Friday. It wasn't crowded, which was great. My goal was to avoid the crowds. I don't like just sitting in traffic and waiting a long time to do things, which is why I went early on a weekday morning. It was quite lovely. It was a beautiful day, very serene, very peaceful. I walked around for a little bit. If you read some stories about who's been buried there, it can probably add another level to your visit that would make it more interesting. But even just walking around, they're beautiful grounds, so I highly recommend stopping there. And it's a little bit north of where most of the things are going to be that you're probably going to do. Stopping there first and then start driving south might be a great plan. And then next I went to the little shops in town. Sleepy Hollow and Tarrytown are right next to each other. So a portion of your trip you are going to spend in Tarrytown. That's where a lot of the shops are. I just picked some ones that looked pretty interesting to stop by. There was an independent bookstore, which I always love stopping in. They have a little cafe inside. It was adorable. One of my favorite things was really just walking around the town and just looking at the decorations. A lot of the businesses had some animatronics outside, or they were decorated really interestingly. It was just beautiful. It was getting a little chilly. It was pretty warm here in September, and it felt just the slightest bit of chill that day, which ended up getting pretty warm, but it was still nice to pretend it was autumn. Right now, it's actually perfect. The weather has dropped, and I'm very happy now. This was a week ago, and still on the warmer side. But yeah, I would recommend walking around. A lot of the stores don't open until 10, so keeping that in mind, depending on how long you spend at the cemetery, you're going to want to make sure you're not going too early so that you can walk to the stores and things will be open by the time that you finish. Unfortunately, the Coven store was still closed by the time I was passing through, so I'll have to stop back up there again to really check it out, but it looked very interesting. After I did a lot of walking through town, I went south to Lyndhurst Mansion and I did a tour. They did a Fall Classic tour, which was my mistake because I thought it was something a little different. It was more like just like a tour of the home, which was still great. I learned a ton. That the tour guide was fantastic. Because I had been there previously for Christmas, that it would be decorated for Halloween. I think they still do one, but this was not that tour. I think it happens probably a week later than I visited, so it was a little different than what I was expecting, but it was still great. The wonderful thing about Lyndhurst is that it's right on the Hudson, and there you can walk the grounds. You could see the bridge, and it's a beautiful walk. It's a little little bit steep, so coming back up, you gotta pace yourself. I always enjoy my time there. The architecture is gorgeous. It's Gothic architecture. The building was used for Dark Shadows in the sequel, Night of Dark Shadows. The tour guide was telling us that it's currently being used for parts of the Gilded Age. It's a beautiful place to check out, and if you enjoy the history, you'll really like the tour as well. And then from there, I went back to one of my favorite restaurants in Sleepy Hollow, which is the Bridgeview Tavern. I just find the food there so comforting and perfect for autumn. I always get the veggie chili. If I go with friends, sometimes I change it up, but the veggie chili is just hearty vegetables with a thick layer of cheese on top. The chili just feels like the perfect hit for autumn. There's just something very cozy and warm about it. And I usually just sit out in the back, which is the outdoor part. There's usually a wait to get in. It didn't take too long, but maybe 25 minutes of waiting. If you go, at night on the weekends, it's probably going to be longer. It's got a great bar tavern atmosphere and the food is excellent. I do want to check out Horse Feathers in Terrytown. I heard the decor in there is really cool. They do have veggie burgers, so for me, there's stuff to eat. It's another place that's highly rated in Terrytown. I spent maybe a total of 4 hours there, checking out the shops, walking around, going to the cemetery, stopping by the grocery store and getting a meal, and it was perfect. You could definitely add on more activities, although the thing is you have to get tickets for a lot of the events and they typically sell out pretty quickly, so just making sure that you have your tickets in advance so you're not disappointed when you get there. Plan out the extra things that you want to add on to your visit, but I highly recommend going to Sleepy Hollow, keeping in mind that it's going to get very busy, especially when they have the parade for Halloween weekend. My second trip was Old Wethersfield, Connecticut. Originally, I was planning on going back up to Woodstock and going further north to see more of the foliage, but just with what I was reading about the drought and the leaves weren't kind of past peak at the time I was going, I didn't feel as inclined to drive. So I was like, okay, I'll compromise. I'm going to go somewhere new and still explore, but not as far of a drive coming from New York City. It was just perfect going up to Old Wethersfield, Connecticut. I knew about the scarecrows and not much else. It sounds like the quaint, cute old town, and there's going to be some festive Halloween decorations, and that's all I was looking for. Most of the scarecrows are on Main Street. I didn't expect it to be as charming as it was. And I found out that Old Wethersfield was actually the first site of the witch trials, and it predated the witch trials up in Salem, which were more publicized in Massachusetts. And so a lot of the scarecrow decorations involved witches. Just a gorgeous town to walk through with lots of quaint shops. I really enjoyed Heirloom Market. They had a cafe and they sold tons of seeds and just a wonderful atmosphere. They had an old country store with old-fashioned candies, and they had several metaphysical stores. I bought some tea, which was delicious, some pumpkin tea. Lots of beautiful gift shops. I'm not like much of a shopper, but I really enjoyed walking through the stores, and I bought a pair of earrings for my mom. It was a great way to spend a few hours. It was just an absolutely gorgeous little town, and I wish I had known more of the history before I went, but I definitely got a better sense as I was kind of reading, checking things out on my phone, going from the different shops and getting a better sense of the area. So the scarecrows were obviously the main feature of the trip, and you could see who designed them. I didn't get to see all of them, but there were some really incredible ones, and I shared some of them here. And then after that, I would have liked to really explore a local restaurant, but I didn't have much time to get to the haunted trails. So I just grabbed something quickly and then went over to Trail of Terror, which was incredible. The atmosphere was scary, and I had no idea that it would take about 85 to 90 minutes to walk through the entire thing, which is so worth the money. It just kept going and going, and it was done very well. Like the actors, the lighting and everything, it just was really, really extraordinary, I think. And just for like the value that you get for the money for $29 with fees, definitely worth it. And they pack a lot in those 90 minutes. I highly, highly recommend that. If you pair the two together, they're not too far, maybe 20 minutes away from each other or so. Yeah, it was great, and I really felt like I got that Halloween fix that I was looking for. I'm going to be going to use the Fright Maps app to check out local attractions for decorated homes and haunted houses and stuff like that. So stay tuned for that. I just love this time of year. I find it so energizing. I hope that you enjoy, and even if these aren't things on your plans for this fall, maybe sometime in the future. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I'll see you soon.